Hey, my friend, how's it going? How's it flowing? This is Jerome Shaw, host of the Open Palm Podcast Motivator, meditator, coming at you with more from Maor in this beautiful book as we take a new look in a new direction and a brand new section. This book is called A Year Without Food. So let's get in the mood. And if you have not yet seen the other sections, you can definitely check this before we say this in the playlist. And the playlist is called the Pranic Pages. How it all flows. In this section, I delve a little deeper into spiritual hypotheses. My knowledge and understanding is derived from many sources, from the God within, science, and from books I've read. My search for knowledge and a deeper understanding of how things really work in the world started about 14 years ago. I estimate that I've read over 200 books on these subjects, some scientific and some philosophical. I can't say I know everything, but I can share some of my conclusions. I recommend you read these books. See Appendix A. This section was written for the reader to understand how each of us can influence the world around us and realize that the spiritual world and the scientific world, the spiritual world and the scientific world are two aspects of the same reality. I cannot describe all the information I have since that would deviate from the subject of this book, but I can generally describe what I understand. Vibration theory and our great illusion. If I were to tell you that you are a prisoner, would you believe me? If I were to tell you that the Matrix is real, and that we are trapped by the illusions of our physical senses, would that make sense to you? Our eyes are built to see certain spectrums we call visible light. Our ears can only hear certain frequencies in the electromagnetic spectrum. The same goes for our other senses, and we perceive our entire world through them. Did you know that a person sees about 25 to 30 frames per second? When we create a movie, we make sure that each second has 30 frames, just like this one right here, this 30 frames. If a fly, for example, were to see one of our movies, it would see it frame by frame, similar to us watching a movie in slow motion. This is because a fly has the ability to process many more frames per second than a human. I believe that. Hey there. There's been so many times you might have tried to swat at a fly or a gnat or something like that, and they were already gone, right? Didn't take that long. Probably because they seen you coming. So what happens between the frames? What is the commotion about 11 real dimensions in mathematics? What is the talk about oneness in quantum mechanics? If we take a second, just a single second, and split it into a million equal pieces, where are we in between these reality frames? There are many questions that we cannot even begin to understand the answers to. Even when our scientists try to dig deeper, they risk becoming outcasts from scientific community. Their budgets are reduced, and they could lose their mainstream positions. Research subjects such as UFOs and unexplained mysteries are ridiculed in the scientific community, even when the mathematical probability of us being alone in the infinity of space is slim to none. The vibration theory explains that we are inside a 3D world contained inside other higher frequencies, organized in a consciousness field that is layered like an onion, right? You start to peel all these layers back, and then come the tears, right? Then come the fears throughout the years. Each consciousness field contains and is above the lower frequencies. Yet below the higher frequencies, we belong to all lower and higher frequencies simultaneously. So it sounds like, the Hermetic principles, that the principles are simple, like the law of correspondence, as above, so below, or the law of polarity, that they're all just the same things to different degrees. Knowing these universal laws can kind of put the mind at ease. Our current 3D body and mind are tuned to a single television station frequency inside the layers of the Great Onion. I like this, the Great Onion. In the astral planes, we connect with parts of ourselves that are already in higher frequencies, which allow us to sense how different parts of us exist outside of time and space. Each frequency band range has its own uniqueness and rules. Our rules belong to a 3D world. This basically means that we are playing a repetitive karmic or cause and effect game. That's another Hermetic law, right? The law of cause and effect. This is how we connect. Reincarnations and experiences are our returning path back to the source. But of course, our higher purpose is expression and creativity. We perceive things here in duality, right and wrong, positive and negative, male, female, giving, taking, and so on. We have free will embedded into our system to allow for maximum experience, flexibility, and other unknown factors that enter into our reality. We see our separated self as one reality, while in truth, we are each a single conscious cell working in a greater conscious body. We perceive time as moving at a linear slow speed and are fooled by our senses. In higher frequencies, time is experienced as a single infinite moment. This is the reason why we always search for a beginning and an end. This is the last frequency of complete separation from one another. Our world and our reality is considered a place of learning. Kind of like this universe is like a university, right? Where class is always in session for your natural evolution and progression. These are the higher or general highlights of our rules. The good news is from here, we can only go up. You can imagine this world as a computer game and yourself as a player in it. Your soul is one of many who are holding the remote control for your player, your physical body, right? Your avatar, customizing your avatar to your specified meticulous customizations, raising your vibration, your skills, your attributes, becoming more resolute, learning the different ways you compute, right? It's so interesting how we are governing ourselves and leveling up, You have free will. This rule is mandatory for gaining individual experience, right? Or XP for the gamers out there, gaining XP. Thus for the collective whole. You can make certain selections as you play, but there are fewer options that your higher self will create, since it has one main path for you to follow, the path of your soul. The selections you feel inside your 3D reality, the ones that come from your intuition, are the choices through which you are guided by your higher self. We are all on a long journey up the frequency ladder back to the source. To get there, we must go through all the games which we have placed here ourselves. We are not alone. There are others helping and guiding us. So it's interesting how they say, it's almost like we seek a challenge. We're coming more into balance, discovering our talents, but we seek a challenge. Because would we really go far if it wasn't that hard? Would we do what needs be if this game was that easy? We are also not what we see in the mirror. We are much more than that. Amen. What we see in the mirror and what we call I is just a glimpse of our true, ominous, magnificent, multidimensional selves. Don't let the physical reality illusion trick you. Connect with your inner senses and keep reminding yourself that what you perceive through your senses is just a portion of the whole story, and a small one at best. Everyone is on their way up the consciousness mountain, and each person has their own path and travels at their own speed. So understanding you go at your own pace, right? There's no rush, there's no race. There's nothing to chase. So each step we take, we create our own fate. Each day brings new lessons, and every day when we wake up, we are slightly different from how we were the day before. Even on days when we do absolutely nothing, we learn something new. I like that. It reminds me of the Tao Te Ching with Lao Tzu, where he said, in non-doing, nothing is left undone. Right? Realizing in this moment, you've already won. When nothing is done, nothing is left undone. So that kind of gave me even more inclination and towards meditation. Being able to just sit and get more information. Even on days when we do absolutely nothing, we learn something new. The same goes for our soul. Each reincarnation teaches us specific pre-planned milestones to be attained. After each reincarnation, we absorb our lessons, good and bad, and set off on another journey. Another reset. I like that. Set off on another reset, right? As we beget. And sometimes things happen not quite as you'd expect when you start to connect. We do this consciously and out of choice and with an understanding of how the godly hierarchy exists in service of a higher purpose. Eventually, when we are done with the harder lessons, we start reincarnating into lives that are full of love, self-fulfilled, and happiness. Slowly, yet steadily, we work our way back to the source. The 3D reality is soon to be completed on our planet, and we will graduate and move up the ladder to a higher frequency. This new frequency also has its own rules, some of them similar to what we already know and some different. Manifestation, for example, is something we control consciously and unconsciously, directly and indirectly. When I say manifestation, I mean our unique ability to create our own world as we see fit, given the changing factors of time. Like in the well-known documentary, The Secret, which speaks about the law of attraction, the physical world and human consciousness are intertwined. Try to imagine that and deeply understand what this means. Can you imagine if there were no sentient beings to observe the world? The world might not exist at all. Have you considered that if a tree falls where no one witnesses it, perhaps it did not really fall? Before we continue, let's go back a moment to our computer game allegory. As a computer programmer, this is easier for me to explain and understand. In a normal computer game, the player is inside a world created by the programmer. Let us not go into who the programmer is right now. Imagine a player is going into a hallway. He is walking down the hallway and sees a door on his left-hand side and a door on his right. He turns left to face the door. Now the real question is, if the player faces and views the door on the left, does the door on the right still exist? It still exists in our minds since we have just seen the door on the right, but the computer itself has removed it from memory. Or we could say it has removed it from existence, since you are no longer the witness, right? Are you getting this? As it is not displayed in the current moment for the player to view. It will only be displayed if the player chooses to turn right again and see it. This subject brings many complicated questions into our reality, since it has been proven that reality is altered and changed by the observer, right? In scientific experiments. So you already know the saying that in the eye of the beholder, right? That beauty is in the eye of the beholder. That actually the rainbow is in the eye and not in the sky. Right? There's been so many times I've actually seen something so beautiful, seen a rainbow or seen a beautiful sight, and the person to my left or my right couldn't see it, you know? So when we change the way we look at things, the things that we look at change. It might seem strange, but they change. Literally, and even at a quantum level, it's not always what you look at that matters, but it's what you see. So knowing this, we can be even more free. In quantum physics, one can only know either the velocity or the position of the particle, and this information is attained by measurement, meaning observing. Let's raise some unanswered questions and ponder some options. If we are indeed living in a unique and pre-designed consciousness karmic game that we have all agreed to, right? Let the games begin. Are you not entertained in this grand game? Contribute to and play in, and we have chosen to forget our true goodness for a small period of our endless lives. What happens when a person, aka the player, right, player one, closes their eyes for a second? Does the world around them continue to exist if they are not watching or observing it? Where is the world around us in between the frames we perceive? Where do electrons spend most of their time? What is time, right? Good question. Who are the other players? Do the stars and the sun really exist? Or are they a live feed from the illusion? It sounds like the Truman Show. Are all scientific measurements just our expectations of what they should be? Do they help us better understand the illusion that we initially created to experience creativity through free will? Understand manifestation and the creation of reality will assist some breatharians on the path. Some do not know exactly how it works scientifically, but they know intuitively. The words we use, the thoughts we think, the emotions we feel, all have a very strong impact on our lives and our reality. Choose your words as carefully as you choose your friends. Your music, and even the movies you watch, they all have a deep impact on your life and consciousness. When we try to see our lives as part of a great illusion, guided by our higher selves, we stop fearing death and start to understand the illusion itself. We start going inside ourselves to seek our multidimensional higher self. Our higher self guides us. It knows more than we do and has planned our paths for us. There is a higher truth which is hidden from our separated ego self. Our higher self is in a place of unity and all-knowing where there is no separation. There is no division, no time, no duality, but here in our 3D reality, duality rules. Men and women represent this duality through logic and emotions, separation, positive and negative. In the higher self, there is only oneness. There is no past or future, only a single everlasting present moment. Our higher self experiences all our lifetimes on planet Earth in the exact same moment. This means that a reincarnation in ancient Egypt happened in the exact same time as a reincarnation in the Second World War. There is no beginning and there is no end. It never existed, and it is a part of the illusion. Understanding this requires thinking outside the box of our reality. It requires thinking about time as a property of existence and not as a constant, as we treat it within the illusion of reality. It cannot really be understood on a mental level, right? So no need to try and grasp this at the moment in time. On our way up the frequency ladder, we have certain milestones, certain points in time when we understand things and change accordingly. Having problems and issues and solving them adds points to our game of soul growth. Being static in our game is simply boring, and we can go through a lifetime without doing anything and ultimately make little or no soul progress. The real wonder happens when we wake up, similar to experiencing a lucid dream. You ever had one of those? Where everything is completely vivid, completely lucid, right? In a lucid dream, the dreamer wakes up while in the dream and realizes he or she is dreaming. We suddenly realize that we are actually playing a game and that nothing really matters in the grand illusion. The player also discovers that in the rules of the game, he or she is an active player and builder of the game's reality. Right? Kind of like Minecraft or Roblox and stuff like that. I've seen kids play Minecraft and stuff, and they're just building their own realities. It's amazing. He or she then learns further how the game of reality works. One of the rules of the game is the karmic rule. Whatever you give or take comes back to you in one way or another. How you think or perceive your life is what comes back to you. Positive and negative actions and thoughts are manifested accordingly. Manifesting guidelines. At this point, I would like to say a few words on the great subject of manifestation. It is known that we humans manifest or create our existence. The New Age word abundance and the phrase "I am manifesting" did not arrive by chance. They are words used to create individual reality. A person who thinks about and is afraid of being sick will invariably get sick, right? You know about the placebo effect. You know, if we can make ourselves sick, then we can make ourselves healthy. You know, if we can make ourselves poor, we can make ourselves wealthy, right? A person who lives in the lower frequency of fear will eventually manifest what it is he or she is afraid of. Our thoughts are waves of potential. The waves can be strong or weak. There can be many small waves or large ones. In the past, manifestation used to take weeks. But today, with the changing winds of our frequency and the great changes that started to occur at the end of 2012, manifestation occurs much faster. Sometimes in a matter of minutes, hours, or days. It does not matter if you believe this or not. These are the rules of the game. You can only choose to be a conscious player and learn to control your manifestations and realize that a manifestation can be stronger when a stronger emotion is attached to it. 2, it is part of a group manifestation. In this case, the manifestation power is synergetic, meaning it is more powerful as a group than in the sum of the original individuals. This is how a small group of people can influence and cause greater changes. 3, an unselfish manifestation is stronger than a selfish one because it carries the high frequency of love. 4, the stronger your faith in your ability to manifest and change reality, the stronger your manifestation will become. You will learn more about faith in the next section. 5, your belief in your inner strength and in your divine higher self plays an important part. There is a greater power at play here that is bigger than any of us. You need to trust it. You must also start to know that there is a lesson in every scenario. There is a reason for everything and everyone you encounter in your life. The reasons might be impossible to understand in the moment, and you may not always understand why things happen the way they do. 6, repetition, affirmation, intentions, prayers, and belief all play a role in your manifestation. If you just say it once, it will be like throwing a small pebble into a large lake. If you continuously throw small pebbles, you will eventually create a wave of change. Your belief in your powers as a creator of your reality will increase more and more, and you will find that you are jumping levels in your game faster than ever before. Hey, thanks, Maor. In the next band of higher frequencies, manifestation occurs immediately. This creates concerns around having free will. If an individual is not conscious enough to control their negative thoughts, they might cause a disaster. Imagine a helicopter controlled by the pilot's thoughts with no manual controls. The pilot must be thoroughly trained to not think negatively. What if the pilot suddenly thinks, "Oh damn, we're all going to crash"? This is why we are going through the consciousness shift in our 3D reality right now. Some people are born with a higher understanding of how things work outside our little bubble. To enter the next spectrum of frequencies, we must be pure in our intentions, have higher knowing and higher consciousness. We can't enter with fear since manifestation is immediate. Science cannot measure our 3D world because it cannot measure a frequency with tools which only work in the same frequency. We cannot see our reality from the outside. This highlights many issues in our reality and many unexplained phenomena that concern the human mind, like telepathic abilities, telekinesis, and other phenomena, which have been removed from the public eye and moved deep underground to be used as military or private resources. We actually just talked about this in one of the posts that I put up on our Patreon. Shout out to the Patreon members, much love. What was discussed in this chapter is just the tip of the iceberg. We require much more information to fully understand our unique selves and the world we are a part of. I have brought up the subject to assist in understanding how reality is manifested and why Breatharianism works, for those with an open mind and a quest for truth. I recommend the reading list in the appendix. More key factors in manifestation. Our physical reality is merely a reflection of our strongest beliefs. The source of our beliefs is not always conscious, meaning they have come from social standards, habits, or family. Make sure you ask for the end results and do not dictate the path to your manifested request. So to be at your best and be even more blessed, just focus on the end in mind. Keep the end in mind and allow for the proper time to realign, All the details will organize themselves accordingly with the least resistance and according to other people's manifestations. This means there will be synergy and your manifestation will align with other people's manifestations in harmony. Reality does not support you. You support reality. Interesting. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Ask not what reality can do for you. Ask what you can do for reality. If you support your reality, reality will reflect what you give it. The power of manifestation is derived from within and not from the outside. Any reality is possible, right? Even the word impossible says, I'm possible. The more you support your reality, the more it will manifest. The more you doubt, the more chances of its manifesting will decrease. You do not exist in physical reality. You are physical reality. Coming closely to a close to the 4th edition. This chapter has been added in the 4th edition of this book, and I'm writing it many years after the 1st edition was written in 2013. In this chapter, I will cover what has happened to me and what I have learned about people who do the Pranic Living group initiation. It can help you decide if this is your path as well. Over the last few years, I have had many Breatharian disciples. Ever since we created the Pranic Living Group initiation, the demand for this unique lifestyle has increased. The world has changed right in front of my eyes, and it is a beautiful sight, right? To reignite, to become even more light. When I first created the Pranic Living Group initiation, I had 2 question and answer conversations with the entity Bashar. I still had many questions and wanted to get the process as perfect as I could. During our conversations, I asked Bashar if the Pranic Living lifestyle is the future of humanity. He said in 50 years, 10% of the population will be breatharians living mostly on energy. This is not far from the amount of vegans and vegetarians we see right now. 50 years ago, if you told someone that they didn't eat animal products or meat, it would have been considered very weird. Today, if someone told you they eat only once a week, it is considered impossible. Okay? Since the time of the first revision of this book, I have changed much. I got married and now have a baby girl who is only a few months old. The shift in my awareness has been mostly emotional. I noticed that my spiritual, mental, and physical bodies are very strong and even powerful. Yet, my emotional body was lacking. So I started doing more of the work that needed to be done on my emotional body. And with the help of my amazing wife, I now feel much more complete. The Pranic Living Group initiation I teach has been upgraded as well. Now a team of professional healers work with me wherever I go. The larger the group, the easier it gets for the participants to go through the process. This has to do with the group energy and with their intention. I have witnessed many healing miracles occur and have taken participant surveys to make sure that we are always up to speed on demands and expectations. I have kept my regular job as it reminds me of the reason why I am here, to bridge the spiritual and the material, the West and the East. It's kind of like Aang, the Avatar. Avatar, the Last Airbender, and also the Legend of Korra. They always told that the avatars were the ones who were bridging both worlds together, making us all better by bridging the worlds together. I know that a normal person who has a normal job and a normal family can indeed take an out of the ordinary spiritual path in life and set an example for others. Like they say, the only difference between ordinary and extraordinary is just that little extra, right? Just that little extra. It also allows me to bring more awakening and consciousness into people's lives. Since I travel once a month for a week and a half, about 8 months a year, I really don't know why I haven't been fired yet. I work about 3 days a week and I'm really enjoying myself. Good for you. I think if we all worked a little less, we would remember why we chose our job in the first place. What I did need to do is work on my humility. I now understand why in Buddhist traditions, every student has a master. And I believe that every master is also a student, That's one of the best ways that we can be prudent. The master reflects to the student where his ego introduces itself instead of his true higher self. Since the release of this book in my television debut, I had more primetime television exposure where I participated in a 6-week reality show called Amazonas to demonstrate we breatharians exist. It was a great success. I was on a roll and forgetting my spiritual self. I concentrated on a relationship with one of the participants in the show and on being a celebrity. The time of me being more materialistic was limited to just a few months and wasn't very enjoyable. I soon bounced back to my true self. Sometimes they say we got to fail forward to bounce back. I have learned much about myself and especially about the separation of what my ego desires and what my heart truly desires. All is perfect. And it is a lesson that I am still learning to this day. My ability to bring in new information has also increased significantly, and I can say I am almost channeling it through. My guides keep telling me that the best way for me to communicate with them is when I am in a state of serving others. I agree. I find so much more purpose by being in service. It gives you a feeling that you never are worthless. Yeah. With every workshop I teach, I feel much more in tune with my divine spirit. The ability to bring in new information doesn't make me a genius. It just gives me many more answers to the questions I keep asking myself. In addition, I have almost completely stopped reading books. Time and the experience of time has altered for me. I no longer know or care what day or hour it is. Everything seems to be in a constant flow of positive change. If I catch myself thinking about the future, I take a long pranic breath and come back to my center. Not that it is wrong, it is simply not a good use of anyone's time to be in an illusion of something that hasn't happened yet. Time is a tricky thing, but it is a major part of the matrix-style illusion we have been building for ourselves. My intuitive feeling about the future is that I am being trained to be a representative of something bigger, right? I love that, no matter who might not resonate or who you might trigger, one thing that can empower you is being a part of something bigger, So how might you figure you're tapped into something bigger? I have always asked myself where my wonder about life in the universe came from. At the age of 14, I started reading the Law of One material and was attracted to it for some reasons. My favorite show was The X-Files. I love that. I am sure that you, my reader, have also gazed into the sky and felt a strong family connection with something that cannot be explained, right? Kind of like Bruce Lee said, under the sky, under the heavens, we are all one family, right? One family. Perhaps some truth that we decided to forget for a given amount of time until we are mature enough to internalize it in this body and in this reality. My intuition tells me that there is something big coming in the next decade or so. Perhaps a first official encounter with ETs or inner earth beings. I intuit that I will be needed and a contract that has already been signed by my higher self will be fulfilled. What position? I have no idea. I can only imagine. It makes me happy, though, when I get that intuitive message. Thinking this is for you? If you think that living on prana is for you, then you are reading the right book. I want to share with you below some of the difficulties that most seekers want to know before they choose their next step. Don't even think about doing this alone. The first thing is called the small ego. The voice that tells us that we can do everything alone just because we saw some video on YouTube. Many light workers try to do the pranic transition by themselves and fail. It is best to wait to do the pranic living group initiation in a group. There are multiple breathing techniques, workshops, and guided meditations you will need to know. In addition, the group intention and energy that is required will assist the process tremendously. This cannot be taught in emails or in videos. This is why, when I have been asked to create a video series on the pranic living group initiation, I have refused because I know it simply doesn't work. A bad situation occurred in Australia when a woman died doing this alone, and it was blamed on Jasmuheen's books and guidance. I do not wish to ever be in that situation, and therefore careful guidance and foresight is imperative. I also wanted to do this process alone and was encouraged by my small ego. But I was convinced by my own guide and mentor that it is simply the wrong way of doing it. The desire came from my small ego, and it was to save a few dollars. It completely neglected common sense. The Breatharian process is meant to be a transfer of knowledge and energy on multiple levels, including the energy of the guide that is meant to transfer it. Don't overlook this. You may regret it. Learn from those that came before you. When someone asks me to guide him or her remotely, I understand that they think this is just knowledge that is being passed on. That is a very 3D way of looking at it and a way of thinking about it. Every day in the Pranic Living group initiation, there are 6 to 9 hours of workshops, guided meditations, breathing techniques, physical exercises, and more. This cannot be taught remotely, nor should it be. Join a proper initiation. I know it is sometimes less affordable, and I understand. Think about this as a once-in-a-lifetime investment in yourself. And that's actually what I thought about it back in 2020 when I did my first initiation with Elitam Elamin and Athena Starseed. I actually charged it to my credit card, I charged it to my card because I said, I might not get this opportunity again. And in fact, I was actually, right about that particular opportunity, because right after that, Elitam went to India and he was there for quite some time. So I became even much more aligned, and I allowed myself to shine when I got around a group, It was an amazing time to recoup and also break myself out of the loop that I had been in previous, to that time. So being in a group setting can absolutely refine, and redefine yourself and where you're going and growing. Choose a guide that you connected to. Currently, there are not many guides in the world that do this. That might change. The most important thing you should do is listen to your heart, right? We are never set apart. So listen to your heart right from the start, right? See some of the guides' videos, read some of their texts, see if they fit energetically. It is not easy to locate guides. Best is to try and contact other breatharians from your country online. I hold several retreats every year in different countries and try to put as much information as I can via my YouTube. There are 2 types of guides: those that work from the gate of the mind, those that work from the gate of the heart. They hardly mix. This doesn't mean a mental guide will be heartless or a heart-oriented guide will be without sense, right? It's not like they're always on one side or the other side of the fence. It means that their dominance will be different. If you are looking for explanations and you need logic to fulfill your transformation, then choose a mental guide. If you feel that you are only heart-oriented and will trust your feeling to satisfy your needs, choose a heart-oriented guide. As you can probably guess, I am a mental guide. I seek information, logic, and experiments in my own growth, and that is how I teach. I require a balance between the heart and mind, between logic and intuition. Both need to be present. I am very spiritual, but I will not use only spiritual explanations or use abstract wording like energy. What I heard from many breatharians that tried different programs is that they were missing 2 important things: more explanations and information about integration. That is why they ended up with me and my team. As you have probably understood from the chapter about the difficulties of this path, you need to be ready for the integration. Check out some of my integration videos online. They explain much about the difficulties most people have. My friends, the initiation is really the easiest part. If you are properly prepared, the integration won't be that difficult. However, if you don't be fooled to think you can do it just because many others do. You will have mind games, social issues, just like the rest of them, right? Just like the best of them, you know? We get tested just like the rest. And when we go back home, we might often find stress. Your home might not be prepared for this transition. Your spouse, your mother might resist, and many issues will come up. Most of them we can predict and we will discuss in the workshops. Your first step is not jumping to 100% energetic nourishment. It is the initiation that switches the physical nourishment, making the energetic engine the primary one. You may still need to drink juices, but reducing it by 60 to 80%, which is a lot. When the switch happens, your body will no longer signal that it is hungry. From then on, it is important to know that if you are a Westerner, you have stress in your life, stress from relationships, work, and obligations. And I would like to say, it doesn't matter if you're a Westerner, you could be on the East or the West and still experience stress, right? If you would have had the chance to live a year in the Himalayan mountains and meditate, striving for the ultimate could have been possible. As you are not in the Himalayas, and if you have one leg in a Western normal life and the other leg is seeking truth and spirituality, I highly recommend not to try to make the bigger jump to strictly prana just yet. Wait a few months. Integrate the first step properly and then see what your heart desires. The initiation will change you. We had a 91% yes response to our survey question, has this process changed your life? Even if you think you know yourself, and you probably do, don't make any decisions until the end of the process. How to prepare for the transition. There is no need to prepare yourself much. Let the workshop do what it is meant to do. The only requirement I ask of you is to do a raw food week before the workshop to assist you with the detox that will take place. That is it. No need for pranic breathing, no need for 2 months juice fast or anything like that. Quite the opposite. It is a good time to enjoy the solid food you like, because after the workshop, you will take some time off of it. It is a good time to say goodbye to some nasty habits you have picked up. Most people will give up meat, smoking, and self-pity after the workshop. It simply happens by itself. You can't expect to heal yourself of the deepest addictions without allowing other lighter issues you have picked up. So it's kind of like saying, you cannot heal what you do not reveal, right? In order to heal yourself, you must reveal yourself. You gotta feel yourself. So go for it. If you feel an inner calling that is absolutely clear, go for it. This is what is going to happen when you finish reading this book. You will either tell yourself, ha, it's nice that this exists, but this journey is not for me. Or you will be excited and say, I'm going to master this amazing technique. Either way, if you have your higher guidance that wants you to go, you will be reminded of this randomly throughout your days, right? Like once a seed is planted, you either water it to allow it to grow, or you let it go. It can come in a dream, another conversation, or in an online video. You will suddenly meet or hear about people who have transitioned to this lifestyle. You will find that you are thinking about it arbitrarily throughout your day and will have no idea how the idea came to your mind. This is how it starts. You can ignore it, or you can see it as an intuitive sign. Commit to your divine contract to experience this and take the first step to organize your life to go in that direction. You will feel an immediate shift with your relationship with food. You will feel less hungry and more energy will start to flow. This is the beginning as a preparation for your transition. You will then recognize the inner call for awakening through this journey. It is not about the food, my friends. The food is only a method of understanding our desires, our stories, our 3D reality, our beliefs, and our body. The food is the tool we use to get to the higher frequency and become more aware of who we are, the state of our being, and our thought process. Whoever you are, I love you as a brother and sister of light. I am happy we have come here together to experience this amazing shift and ascension. And perhaps one day in this incarnation, I will have the pleasure of meeting you face to face. With love and light, Ray. A few acknowledgments before we conclude. Writing this book is harder than I thought and more rewarding than I could have ever imagined. None of this would have been possible without my best friend and the love of my life, Anya. She has stood by me through difficult and challenging times and continues to support my teachings even when it takes a personal toll. I'm eternally grateful to my teacher, Tao Giboa, who has introduced me to this lifestyle and has tutored me through my initiation. A very special thanks to the 4 editors that have helped improve my English skills and make this book readable and enjoyable. A great appreciation to the country of Italy, where I traveled while writing most of the content of this book. To the challenges of being a young breatharian while being tempted by your amazing pizzas and ice creams. Signed, Ray Maor. Wow. Much love, much love, much love. Beautiful. Thank you so much, my friend, once again, for listening and glistening to this beautiful book as we took a look and enjoyed this wisdom of the ages from one of today's modern sages. I trust that you enjoyed. This has been Jerome Shaw with the Pranic Pages. Take care. Keep being aware. And we'll see you again. We're already there.